Welcome to Elevate Your Life and Soul. I'm your host, Marla Kennedy, life coach, mama, and spiritual soul seeker. Each week, this podcast will bring you interviews, stories, and mentoring so you can truly know your value, know your worth, and elevate all areas of your life. Let's rise together. Welcome to episode 16. Hello, beautiful loves. How are you today? I hope you're doing really well. I am actually doing well. I'm feeling really good. I have been unwell though. I had a cough and a sore throat, and it was to the point that I actually lost my voice, so it may sound a little husky today. It's just starting to come back, and yeah, so might be a short and sweet episode. I really don't want to lose my voice again, and I just did a podcast interview that was really incredible, and I'm going to keep it a little bit secret squirrel, so you'll have to wait and see who it is I interview in the next couple of weeks. But it was a really great one, and I'm really excited to share it because there was so much good stuff in there, and a really useful stuff too, that's practical and tangible. And so today I want to get a little serious and share about a topic that's really present for me right now, and I think it's a really common kind of theme that can run through people's lives, and so I want to address it because I feel it's really important that we show up as our best selves as often as we can in integrity and alignment with ourselves. And throughout my life, there have definitely been times when I've been out of integrity and done things that haven't felt the best, and I've been able to reflect on them and move forward and change my behavior from that. An example is alcohol. I guess when I was drinking, I used to act out of integrity a lot. Well, I don't guess. I know I acted out of integrity, and it was not in alignment with my soul. It wasn't in alignment with my truth and who I am. And I was really a victim in my life, and I would really shirk the responsibility and blame other people for my current state of being and what was showing up in my life. And it's really interesting to reflect on. Like, I'm reflecting on it now, and I was in a lot of pain, and I was making choices that weren't serving me and weren't useful for me. And that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about taking responsibility for your actions and choosing consciously, because you always have a choice on how you show up, and you are the one in control of your life, and you get to take responsibility for your actions, for your behavior, for how you show up. And sometimes that may not feel easy. It may feel really difficult, in fact, but it's in integrity to do that and to act that way. And I've experienced some challenges lately and things where this kind of stuff's been coming up, and meeting my edge and standing in a really grounded, centered way to be what I consider to be the best version of myself that I can possibly be in the moment, and responding to things and situations, not reacting. And for so many years, I was so reactive to my life. Really, reactive is it's the perfect word, really, for how I lived my life. I would react to other things. I wouldn't respond. I'd get fired up, and in the heat of the moment, I would get angry and push other people and drink too much, and then get loud and obnoxious, and I wouldn't listen. So I'm inviting you to think about a situation where maybe you haven't acted totally in integrity, and maybe someone's come to you with something and it's triggered you, and it's made you feel angry or resentful of that person. and you start to notice all the things that they've done. Like maybe let's I'm trying to think of an example. So maybe, you had an appointment or something to meet them, and they cancelled at the last minute, and you were really angry because it was really important to you, and you wanted to, it was just really important to you, So you got really angry and were and started going off at them, getting really angry about it, and just making up these assessments and about what they were thinking and why they were doing this. Maybe you're like, oh, they don't care, they blah blah blah, they think that I have all this time in the world, and they are really selfish, and then they don't care about me, or they think about it themselves. Go on, you can go on. I'm sure you understand what my point is. And these are your assessments. So assessments are kind of like opinions, and it's it's not a fact. It's just what you're perceiving, your perception of how someone's behaving towards you, in effect. So if you can drop into this and think about what their context is. So maybe there was a really valid reason. Maybe someone was sick, or something had happened, and maybe it's something small. Maybe they just couldn't get their stuff all together, and they just needed to to take care of themselves and some focus on self-care, and maybe they didn't handle it in the best way. Maybe they could have given you more notice. Maybe they could have arrange for something else to happen, whatever it is. But how are you showing up? Are you passing blame, or are you showing up powerfully and considering their perspective and staying grounded and centering? You can literally plant your feet on the earth and really center in and think about how you respond to people when you're triggered, or that they're triggering you, or you feel like their behavior has not been up to the standards of your expectations. So this is not about people pleasing, and I want to make that really clear. It's about taking responsibility for how you show up completely, and owning that, and not passing blame on other people, seeing how you contributed to the situation, because there's always two sides to a story. There's always two people involved, and you really get to tune in and be responsible for your side. And if you act in integrity with yourself, and you stay grounded and centered and act accordingly and respond rather than react, then at the end of the day, no matter what happens, you've been in integrity with yourself, and that's a beautiful thing. It's a really beautiful thing to stay strong in your truth and your power and own who you are. And generally, when you do that, the outcome of something is more likely to be positive. It's not always going to be. Sometimes things will just fall apart. But if you are reactive, and you start getting angry and resentful and putting your perceptions into the mix, so you're throwing your assessments onto someone else and blaming them and acting like a victim, the chances are the response is not going to be positive, and you probably will not get the outcome you desire. So I really invite you to think about this. And one thing I'd love to add to this conversation is if you're in one of these situations, and this happens on the daily, it happens all the time. I'm constantly constantly coming up with it against situations where I don't always agree with someone, or sometimes they're little tiny things, but the same thing applies. It doesn't matter if it's a tiny small thing, like you want your partner to watch the kids in the morning and they wanted to sleep in and they slept in and they forgot or something, or it can be something really small, like I keep thinking of partnership, which is not like, it's just what's coming into my head, but I want to put a side note in here. My relationship is really strong because I have really, really got into a place, and it's taken work and practice of good open communication that's neutral and grounded and not emotional, which is a hard stretch for me. I have to really work at not getting emotional. Personally, I am a real empath, and I'm really in my heart and really can get emotional and stuff. So it takes a lot of work for me. I'm not saying being in integrity and staying fairly neutral about things isn't difficult. It can be really difficult. It can be really challenging, but it's worth it. You're more likely to come to happy solutions for everyone involved. And I'm also not saying that having emotions is a bad thing, and I want to make that really, really clear, because I am a really emotional person and it's important to feel, and I am so against spiritual bypassing, and I'm so against not feeling your emotions. But when you sit in them and you suffer in them and you don't move through them to come out the other side, like, that can be really detrimental. And sometimes it can feel easy to linger there too long and to fall into that blame and that victim mentality. And that's not useful. It's just, and it can be a repellent towards other people. Whereas you show your strength and your power and you take responsibility for your actions and how you're showing up, that can be really courageous. And I'll share something that is kind of uncomfortable. It was a kind of uncomfortable situation for me, and it's a little different, but it comes back to integrity for sure. So recently I was having a really off morning. I had the kids, we had swimming, I was running around. I was just not centered. I don't think I'd done my morning rituals and done my self-care that morning. It had just been I'd overslept and stuff. So I was off center, and I'm always really off center when I don't commit to that stuff. And it was really busy when we got to swimming lessons, and as I was pulling into the car, I bumped another car, and I left just a white paint mark on their car. Anyway, so I was like, couldn't properly get into the car space, so I moved my car to another thing, and then I ended up going. I didn't have a pen or paper because I wanted to leave a note, so I ended up going inside and asking for a pen of paper, and I left my details there. And then I went back out to leave the note on the car, and I'd seen some people outside as I was going inside, but I didn't actually know who it was. And then as I was going out to leave the note on their car, I saw this lady that I'd seen out there as I was walking in drive off in the car, so I couldn't leave the note. So I felt really bad, and it was something that I think could just buff out. I don't think it was it wasn't a major thing, but they had a pretty nice car. And so I did a post in a community board where people in my town might see it, and owned up to what I'd done. And I'm not saying this to be oh, look at me, I did such a honorable thing. It was hard. I was so embarrassed. It was so challenging. But and I haven't heard back yet from them, and I'm hoping that they can contact me if it needs any repair, because I really want to take responsibility for that. But it was challenging to own up publicly, to own up to that for a start. And there was a lot of shame, and I wanted to go to that little girl who was scared of getting in trouble and would run away and not take responsibility and just like, it's kind of like a victim mode. But I didn't. I did what was challenging, and I did the right thing, and I tuned into my truth and my integrity by standing up and owning that and taking full responsibility. And as long as you do that, you're going to feel relief, and it will feel a lightness. And it's not about that so much. It is just about doing the right thing. But it honestly really made a difference to my day. My day shifted after I owned up and took responsibility for my behavior. It wasn't my behavior, for my actions, what had happened. But I'm giving this example. It's a little different, but I'm giving this example because it applies. It can be applied to your behavior, or how, if someone criticizes you in some way, you can respond and criticize them back and hurl like curse words at them or whatever. Or you can calm down, like get calm, get grounded, and think about like what they've said and what led them to say that. What's the story they've created? What has been their experience in life that's brought them to that place? And a tip that I want to share that I found really useful in communicating with other people, especially when it's things like this and it's integrity, is creating space. You don't have to respond straight away. I do feel it's good to tell someone you're not going to respond straight away, but then give yourself space. So say to the person, look, I really want to have a conversation with you about this, but I need some time to process this and think about it, and then I would like to talk to you about this. So it's being respectful of the other person, because you're being clear in your communication and telling them where you're at, and it means you're getting distance from whatever it is, where you can ground down and center and feel calm, so that you can move forward, and have a possibly challenging conversation later, but it will be from a more logical, rational kind of place, rather than a really emotional and unneutral space, if that makes sense. So I hope that makes sense, and I hope that's valuable. I feel it's a bit of a heavier, more serious topic, and I think it's a really important one that is so prevalent in our lives. Communication with other people is everywhere. It's constantly happening. So, yeah, I invite you to look at your integrity and your truth and see how you can take more responsibility and choose more powerful responses and grounded responses and actions as well in how you show up and how you be you, because you get to be the best version of yourself whenever possible, and lean in. And yes, sometimes we fall off the wagon and we get to get back up. And if that happens, if you fall off and you act out of integrity, own it and get back up and get back into integrity and get back to your truth. Just constantly. It doesn't matter if you fall off a million times, you fall down a million times, do a million things that are out of integrity and out of alignment with yourself. You choose again. Make a different choice. You always can choose again. And every moment is a new moment to choose again. So I invite you to do that. And before we jump off, I'd love to share as well, which I shared about last week, that my new program starts on the 31st of March, the self-care experience. And I'm so excited about it. It's going to be such an amazing program with a beautiful community of people, women being in there together, and we're going to dive into some amazing practices. And really, I'm going to share some content with you around self-care that isn't just bubble baths, and it isn't just getting your nails done. It's the deeper stuff. It's setting boundaries and standards, and and nourishing your whole being in a really deep way. And it's not always the easiest thing, but it's great. It's so important to me. I just love self-care so much. It's really changed my life. It is such deep work. I do not think it's the buzzword, as I mentioned in my last episode. It's such deep work. It can truly transform your life. It has definitely done that for me. I mean, my sobriety in alone was a huge act of self-care and self-love. And every time I choose not to have a drink, which is every day, all the time, and every moment I'm making that choice, I'm re-choosing to stay sober. It's an act of self-care. So yeah, I'm super excited. I can't wait to get into this program with you. And I will pop the details in the show notes, and you can just sign up right on the spot. It's really easy to do. It's only $99. And I can't wait to join you on that journey of self-care and really loving on yourself, because you really deserve it. And I hope you have a beautiful week, and I'll be back very soon. I'm sending you so much love, beautiful souls. Thank you so much for listening to today's show. If you like it, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you love this episode, please give it an honest review on iTunes and let me know what you loved and what you want more of. Your feedback helps me truly elevate the show into something that really serves you and allows me to keep pouring my heart and soul into it. This is for you. Let's rise together. And remember, know your value, know your worth. I love you, beautiful soul.